It is October 1957. The world holds its breath as a small silver sphere crosses the night sky, beeping a signal that changes history. Sputnik. The Soviet Union has beaten America into space, and for the first time, the United States feels vulnerable, not from an army, but from the heavens themselves. A new battlefield has opened, one without borders, without gravity, without mercy. This is the beginning of the space race, a contest that will push human beings farther than they have ever gone, and it will end, improbably, with bootprints on another world. 4 years later, a young American president stands before Congress and makes a promise so audacious that even his own scientists are unsure it can be kept. John F. Kennedy declares that the United States will land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
Before the decade is out. It is not just a scientific goal. It is a declaration of national will, a line drawn across nearly 240,000 miles of empty space. NASA, barely 3 years old, is handed the single greatest engineering challenge in human history. To reach the moon, NASA must build machines that do not yet exist, using metals not yet forged and computers with less power than a modern calculator, yet capable of guiding 3 men across 250,000 miles of vacuum. Engineers at the Marshall Space Flight Center, led by the brilliant and controversial Wernher von Braun, begin designing the most powerful machine ever built by human hands, the Saturn V rocket. Standing 36 stories tall, it will generate 7.6 million pounds of thrust, enough raw power to lift the equivalent of a naval destroyer off the ground and hurl it toward another world. Every bolt, every weld, every line of code in this endeavor carries the weight of life and death. Thousands of engineers, machinists, and seamstresses, yes, seamstresses, hand-stitching the 21 layers of the spacesuits that will protect astronauts from the killing vacuum of space, pour themselves into a single goal. 400,000 people across 20,000 companies and universities become part of the largest peacetime mobilization in American history. This is not one giant leap. It is millions of small, precise, human ones, stacked one atop another, reaching for the sky. But the road to the moon does not begin with triumph. It begins with tragedy. January 27, 1967, astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee sit inside the Apollo 1 command module, running a routine launch simulation on the pad at Cape Kennedy. No one expects danger. The rocket isn't even fueled. But inside the sealed capsule, in a pure oxygen atmosphere, a single spark from damaged wiring is enough. In seconds, fire engulfs the cabin. The hatch, designed to open inward against internal pressure, cannot be opened in time. All 3 men are lost. The nation grieves, and NASA is forced to confront a hard truth. Ambition without discipline kills. What follows is a total, unflinching redesign. The command module hatch is rebuilt to open outward in seconds. Flammable materials are stripped from the cabin. The pure oxygen atmosphere on the pad is replaced with a safer nitrogen-oxygen mix. It is a painful, humbling pause, but it transforms Apollo from a program racing the clock into one racing the clock safely. Flight Director Gene Kranz gathers his team and delivers words that become NASA's creed for a generation: tough and competent. By late 1968, NASA is ready to fly again and ready to gamble. With the Soviet Union rumored to be preparing its own crewed lunar flyby, NASA takes an extraordinary risk. Apollo 8, only the 3rd crewed flight of the entire program, will not just test hardware in Earth orbit. It will fly directly to the moon. Astronauts Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders will become the first human beings to leave Earth's gravity entirely, riding a Saturn V that has never before carried a crew. On Christmas Eve, 1968, as the spacecraft loops behind the moon for the 4th time, something happens that no one had planned for. Earth rises over the gray lunar horizon, a fragile blue marble suspended in the black. Bill Anders grabs a camera and captures what will become one of the most reproduced photographs in human history, Earthrise. For a moment, three men sent to explore another world instead discover their own and read from the book of Genesis to a listening planet 380,000 kilometers below.
We were the first three people to leave the confines of the Earth and be captured by another body. First time three people saw the far side of the moon. First time that we had gone so far, and the first time that we saw the Earth from 240,000 miles away. So in that respect, I kind of thought that Apollo 8 was really a milestone and a high point in my career.
With Apollo 8 proving humans could reach the moon and return, NASA now had to prove they could land on it. That burden fell to a strange, spider-legged machine unlike anything ever flown, the Lunar module. Built by Grumman engineers, it had no aerodynamic shell, no need for one. It would only ever fly in the airless vacuum of space. It was, in the words of its own designers, ugly. But every ounce shaved from its aluminum skin was an ounce that didn't have to be lifted off the moon again. Beauty in this case was a luxury astronauts couldn't afford. In May 1969, Apollo 10 flew the full dress rehearsal, every step of a lunar landing except the landing itself.
Your go for staking, Ken. What a ride, man. What a ride. Man, that staging was quite a sequence.
Astronauts Tom Stafford and Gene Cernan flew the lunar module to within just 15 kilometers of the moon's surface, close enough to see boulders and craters rushing past the windows and then deliberately turned back. It took extraordinary discipline to fly that close to history and not reach out and touch it. But NASA needed the data, not the glory, not yet. That would come next. Behind every mission stood Mission Control in Houston, a windowless room of consoles and controllers barely out of their 20s, some just 26 years old, carrying the lives of astronauts in their hands. They spoke in a clipped shorthand of acronyms and call signs, trained for failures that hadn't happened yet through thousands of hours of simulated disasters. It was here, more than on the launch pad, that Apollo would actually be won or lost, in split-second decisions made by engineers who had never flown anything themselves, yet somehow always knew exactly what to do. And then there was the guidance computer itself, the Apollo guidance computer, built by MIT's Instrumentation Laboratory. It had roughly 72 kilobytes of memory. Your average modern smartphone has millions of times more computing power. And yet this small machine, its code hand-woven by women workers, threading copper wires through magnetic cores in a process nicknamed rope memory, would guide astronauts to a landing on another world with pinpoint precision. Apollo was not won by brute force alone. It was won by ingenuity distilled into every gram of hardware. July 16, 1969. 1 million people lined the beaches and highways around Cape Kennedy. At 9:32 in the morning, the Saturn V ignites, and for the first time, the goal Kennedy set 8 years earlier is within physical reach. Aboard Apollo 11, Neil Armstrong, a quiet, meticulous test pilot. Buzz Aldrin, brilliant and driven. Holder of a doctorate in orbital mechanics from MIT, and Michael Collins, who will orbit the moon alone in the command module, Columbia, while his crewmates descend to the surface. The most isolated human being in existence. Further from another person than anyone in history. 4 days later, the lunar module, Eagle, separates from Columbia and begins its descent toward the Sea of Tranquility. Then disaster nearly strikes.
Warning light.
Alarms blare in the cockpit. Program alarms 1202 and 1201. The guidance computer is overloaded, threatening an abort just minutes from touchdown. In Houston, a 26-year-old guidance officer named Steve Bales has seconds to decide whether the mission lives or dies. He gives the call, go. Then, with the fuel gauge reading mere seconds of propellant remaining, Armstrong manually pilots Eagle over a boulder field to a clear patch of lunar dust. Houston Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. 6.5 hours later, Neil Armstrong descends the ladder and plants his boot into gray, powder-fine lunar soil that has never known a footprint. 600 million people, 1/5 of the entire population of planet Earth, watch on flickering black and white televisions as he speaks the words that will outlive every empire built before it. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
18 minutes later, Buzz Aldrin joins him, describing the view in 3 unforgettable words: magnificent desolation.
Magnificent sight out here. Magnificent desolation.
For 2.5 hours, the 2 astronauts explore the Sea of Tranquility, planting an American flag stiffened with wire to appear to fly in the airless vacuum, setting up scientific instruments to measure moonquakes and solar wind, and collecting nearly 22 kilograms of lunar rock and soil. Samples that scientists on Earth are still studying today, more than half a century later. Then they return to Eagle and, in the tensest hours of the entire mission, fire its single ascent engine, an engine with no backup, no second chance, and no possibility of repair. It works.
With a scant 5 months to spare, NASA has met President Kennedy's goal. America has gained preeminence in human spaceflight.
Apollo 11 was the summit, but it was not the end. 6 more missions would follow, each one pushing further than the last. Apollo 12 landed with such precision that it touched down beside an unmanned probe, Surveyor 3, sent to the moon 2.5 years earlier. Apollo 13 in April 1970 became NASA's most harrowing hour when an oxygen tank exploded 200,000 miles from home. The words, "Houston, we've had a problem," echoed around the world. And for 4 desperate days, engineers on the ground improvised a lifeline to bring 3 men home alive.
The crew of Apollo 13 never gets the chance to land on the moon. They can only slingshot around it and, with their lunar module Aquarius as their lifeboat, hope to make their way safely back to Earth.
Apollo 14 through 17 transformed the program from exploration into science. Alan Shepard, America's first man in space, famously struck 2 golf balls across the lunar surface.
But Shepard manages a few seconds to become not only America's first man in space, but also its first golfer.
Miles and miles and miles.
Apollo 15, 16, and 17 carried astronauts in an electric lunar rover, extending their range across the moon from a few hundred meters to tens of kilometers, driving across ancient highlands and volcanic plains billions of years older than anything on Earth. Geologist Harrison Schmitt, the only professional scientist to walk on the moon, discovered orange volcanic soil on Apollo 17 in December 1972. The last mission, the last footprints, the last time any human being stood on another world.
Meanwhile, Schmidt finds unexpected color in the gray moonscape.
There is orange soil. Well, don't move it till I see it. It's all over. Orange. Don't move it till I see it. I've stirred it up with my feet. Hey, it is! I can see it from here. It's orange.
When Gene Cernan climbed the ladder of the lunar module, Challenger, for the final time, he spoke words meant not as an ending, but as a promise that humanity would return with peace and hope for all mankind.
Into the universe, leaving the planet Earth and going forward into the universe. I think no more significant contribution has Apollo made to history. It's not often that you can foretell history, but I think we can in this case.
In total, 12 men walked on the moon between 1969 and 1972. 24 traveled there. Apollo returned 382 kilograms of lunar samples, rewrote our understanding of the solar system's violent birth, and proved beyond any doubt that when a species chooses to reach beyond its own world, there is almost nothing that can stop it. Half a century later, the footprints in the Sea of Tranquility remain untouched. There is no wind on the moon to erase them, no rain to wash them away. They will likely outlast every monument humanity has ever built on Earth. And now, NASA's Artemis program aims to return astronauts to the lunar surface this decade, this time to stay, building a sustainable presence as a stepping stone to Mars. The Apollo astronauts didn't just leave footprints, they left a challenge, echoing across the decades, that the giant leap was never meant to be the last one. The story of Apollo is proof of what humanity can achieve when we dare to reach beyond ourselves. If this journey to the moon left you in awe, subscribe for more deep dives into the missions, machines, and minds that took us to the stars, and tell us in the comments, should humanity go back to the moon or push straight onto Mars? The next giant leap is still waiting to be taken.